all these excursions.
Do we need to keep this guy moving? Do I need to?
Oh, yeah.
I'll shoot that somewhere else.
Open, and I went, okay, well, you get take that one. So I told somebody, I got one.
Did this guy visit you?
What I like to do, I like to put everything.
Trying to get rid of it. Did this guy visit here?
But
You know what? She's the opposite.
there's
She
an
likes to put it in the freezer.
Oh, okay. I do that with men and Girl Scouts.
Oh, bless you, good sir.
Are they?
Did this visit here? This already went all the way around. Here, Jeanette. Did that already visit here?
No, it hasn't. But
I just.
is it bad to like make change? Like,
No. In that case, yes. Just put it in there. The Lord be with you. No, it's fine. Look, Pete's doing it.
all I have is
I can put it two. I have two
$2 bills.
A $2 bill?
Yeah.
That is so funny, that $2 bill thing.
Yeah. He does it all the time.
That is so funny. I mean, that would totally work on my mom. You could say, I'm going to give you this $5 or this $2 bill. And she'd be like, ooh.
Oh, the people in Cancun.
So funny.
Almost forgot about this.
Oh. Oh, I need coffee. That's what I need. We got old mugs here. Which is which?
That's real.
This?
That's real.
This is the good stuff.
Yeah, that gold one, don't touch it.
Okay.
Poisonous.
All right, you happy now?
Oh, that looks good. That looks good. You know what you ought to do? Repass that around all the tables. Put that right on top.
Yeah.
That's like a shaming mark right there.
Has it been everywhere?
Yeah, no, it's been everywhere. Cindy, your soup was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
It really was.
Red bowls we don't keep. We pitch.
I think she keeps them. Sarah, how are you?
I know. I just told her.
Oh, Cindy told on Sarah.
That's all right. I can take it.
There you go. Exactly. So hopefully we'll get their parents coming. But if not, at
Who?
least the kids.
Really?
Trying. I'm working
Who were
on
their
it.
parents?
She's a nurse. She works at Worst Off, and then he used to be a mechanic on the airplane that I worked when I worked for Air Care One, but now he works for Disney.
Oh, cool.
So he's a mechanic for Rise of the
I
Resistance.
spent too much time in the hospital today. I went all the way down to Palm Bay Hospital because Bud Springer was in there.
Oh, okay.
Get there, no Bud Springer. Well, where is he? Oh, he's at Holmes. So all the way to Holmes.
They transferred him.
Get in there. Where's Bud Springer? Okay, he's here. There's like 15, not 15. There's like 5 nurses in his room. He's bleeding. They're doing stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm out of
Is he
here.
up in the ICU?
No, he just see here pacemaker was leaking, so they fixed him off. And I guess he has diabetes and nicked something. I mean, it wasn't a bad cut, but there was blood everywhere, and I'm like, I don't do well with blood, and I'm like, I'm out of here. I'll see you. I'll come back and see you later on. Yeah. All right, y'all ready to start? Yeah. More importantly, Ray, you ready to start? All right. All right, I'm going to roll. We're going to jump right in. You already know what we're looking at. We're looking at leisure, which should be a lot of fun. There's a couple different categories in here that I want to look at, spend some time on. But just to recap what we've talked about the last couple, and I'll bring this up very quick, is that religion provides meaning, value, purpose when you strip out religion from a culture, what you end up with is a cultural crisis where they have to find where they're going to get meaning, value, and purpose, because we have to have it as human beings. If we do not feel as though our lives have meaning, value, and purpose, well, that's a horrible life to live, and maybe a short one. And so we try to find ways to incorporate meaning, value, and purpose in our lives. So we are looking at the variety of ways in which people, Christians and non-Christians, will insert value into their life. Now, all of these things are going to fail you, and they're all going to let you down at some, on some level, or they at least have the great potential to do that. So maybe you live your entire life and you're fulfilled by being busy, but it could have easily ended up so that that need to be busy failed you, and you felt as though you didn't have meaning, value, and purpose. So that's basically what we're looking at, and so now we're looking at the idea of leisure, and I've broken it up into a couple categories, but you can divide it up into so many more categories. So this is not an exhaustive list of leisure activities, okay? So if your leisure activity is not up here, it's all right. But you can still apply the same principle that we're going to be talking about. So I think the first thing is, what is leisure? What do we mean when we use that word? Some ideas? Relaxing. Somebody say golf. I mean, that sounds torture to me, but whatever floats your boat. All right, so golf, football, watching football.
It's a non-compulsory activity you choose to do.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, did you pull your phone up, or did you pull that out of here? I mean, that's pretty. I'm really impressed with that. Activities to occupy our downtime. They include things like exercise, hobbies, relaxation, play, sleep. All of these things fall under the category of leisure activities. And as all of these areas seem to be like the most resistant thing to gauging productivity, except that we have done that with pretty much all of these activities. We have used these activities as gauges of productivity. So I'm going to get to the definition on the next slide, but we've kind of been taken over by the cult of productivity, that we have to be productive human beings, and everything that we do has to filter into that idea that we have to be productive human beings. That's why leisure, for the most part, or in many ways, doesn't really exist the way that it used to, because we've taken our leisure activities and we've turned them into gauges of productivity. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean by that, and many of the ways that I'm going to show you, you're going to be like, yeah, we totally did that. So I'm going to walk you through. Here's the first one, and the first one is play. And the reason that I want to look at this first is because we do this to our children at a very early age, and then they grow up to be adults, and this is how they function, because we ingrained it into them as they were children. So the most basic leisure activity that exists is play. And play is defined, as Sarah mentioned many of these things, as a self-chosen, self-directed, meaning there are no coaches, there are no parents, it's self-directed, intrinsically motivated, using your imagination. This is what we understand of as play. That you chose to do it, that you have nobody guiding you on how's the right way to do that and how's the wrong way to do that, that you have chosen it all by yourself, just by what's intrinsically in you, and it uses a lot of imagination. Okay? So, essentially, not a means to an end, but an activity as its own reward. That you are not doing this so that you can do this, or you're not doing this so that you can become this, or you're not doing this so that you can achieve this. You're doing it just because you love doing it. My son Cohen, and I was very convicted the first time that I read this book on this, and apparently I did not change my ways, because as I read the book a second time, I was extremely convicted this week about this, because my son Cohen has a very vivid imagination. He lives in his head, and he will take these sticks, and he'll connect a rope to them, and he'll throw them up in the tree, and then they hang down from a tree branch, and then he's right in the front yard doing karate moves on these sticks. And I oftentimes ask him, like, what are those sticks? Are the sticks me? And what do the sticks represent? And he's like, oh, they're just like ninjas, or they're like creatures, or whatever they are. They're coming out, and I do my moves, and I take them out. But he has worn a patch in my front yard, in my grass, and it is very frustrating to me. And so I correct him all the time. Please stop doing that. Please stop doing that. And what I say to him is, there's no benefit in doing this. There's no reward in doing this. And this is exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. So everything that I tell him I'm just destroying his play. And I so want him to move it to the backyard, but there are no trees back there. Well, there are, but they're not. Yeah. So, but it's just an activity that you do all by yourself. It doesn't have to be all by yourself, but just nobody's directing you. I used to take those little super balls, and I had an area in my house between the stove and the refrigerator, and I used to try and hit the wall and get it to come back. And then I used to pretend that the balls actually had their own mind and thinking, and actually brought themselves to that place and would come back. And so certain balls were better at doing it than other balls.
How long ago was that?
I mean, I was certainly the rector here. But I mean, I used to do it for hours. That's play, and so essentially, it's an activity with no means to an end. It's just an activity of its own reward. And since 1955, and I don't know where the stats come from on this, but since 1955, it's in the book, play has been in decline and replaced with structured activities aimed at producing productivity. So what we've done is we've said, I am going to take away play, and instead we're going to have structured activities that's aim is productivity. So my father used to lament all the time that he never sees any kids outside playing baseball, basketball, or football. And I would tell him that's because they're all in leagues. And they don't do it as friends in neighborhoods anymore. What we've done is our kids are out there and they're throwing the football around, and mom and dad look at them and they say, wow, they should be in a league, because that would give them structure, and then that would teach them about football. It would teach them about how to be a good teammate. It would teach them about following directions. It would teach them all sorts of things. So we remove play. That doesn't do anything for you. And we put this structured thing around them and says, this will actually teach you something. And so, but what we're ultimately doing is we're telling our kids that anything that does not have the aim of making you a more productive human being is not worth doing. And I can't tell you how many times I've said that to both of my kids. This is totally me. I do this all the time. So that's just kind of what we've done with kids' activities, is that instead of them being outside playing, we've enrolled them in internships, training camps, sports teams, whatever we can, so that they can do something, but the end goal is bigger than what you're doing. The end goal is you're going to learn how to be a decent human being. You're going to learn how to, work with others. You're going to learn how to make friends. You're going to learn how to follow all these rules. This is what we care about, and we just don't really care about you just playing. Sarah first, Pat second.
Well, part of the problem, I think, is also, when I was a kid, you got your mom, you went running out the back door as soon as you possibly could, and you were to be back when the, at my house, when the
lights came off.
Yeah.
Yep.
When the light, in my backyard, it's when the lightning bugs started.
Oh yeah, mine too. Yeah.
Then you were supposed to be inside.
I would always say we didn't see any. There were none where we were.
It didn't work.
I know.
And we had all kinds of imaginative play, and we went from yard to yard, but we weren't to cross the street. So they knew we were all inside the block. But nowadays, I think if you just turn your kids out of the house for 8 or 10 hours, they're going to Children's Protective Services.
Get reported.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can't let your kids be free.
I know. We do it, and we just delight in doing things like that. And people complain about us. And the conversation usually goes like, aren't you the same people that complain about all kids do is play on video games? And now when they're outside, you complain about they're outside. What do you want them to do?
Yeah.
Well, you got to make up your mind. You either want them outside or you don't want them outside. Guess what? When kids, and we just had this conversation on Sunday, when kids are at church, they're loud, they break stuff, they're messy, they destroy, they're all of those things. You want kids? That's what you want. If you want kids, that's what you're going to get. It's the same thing in the neighborhood. You want kids in your neighborhood? Well, it's not like my kids walk out of the house with halos. They're the same kids in my house as they are outside. And every time they walk out of our house, me and my wife, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Now they're the neighbors' problems. I don't know.
Well, Todd, I was going to say basically the same thing, that I disagree with the 1955 that this started declining, because I was a kid in 1955, and just like Sarah said, I couldn't even come in the house for lunch. I had to go in the backyard and get stuff out of the garden. Wash it off with the hose. Say, there's plenty of food in the yard, go eat.
There's plenty of food in the yard.
What we did, we had a massive garden and all kinds of berry bushes and trees and everything, full of fruit. So, I mean, we were eating well. But in 1955, this was not, what's happening today was not happening at all.
Yeah, I think what the author's saying is that the decline, you can mark a spot in history where the decline began. It doesn't.
When all the perverts started coming out.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that in 1955 was the same as today. That's where there's a small tick towards this, and then each year, 5 years, each decade, it's more and it's more and it's more till you get to the point where we are now, and you don't have anybody outside. But what we do is when we do see our kids engaged in something, we immediately push them into, well, do this with a team, because that will actually put something in you. So anything we as parents deem as highly structured, beneficial, and performance-based is what will kind of move them towards. Oh, you like this? Here, we'll put you in this club. You like horses? There's a horse club. You like baseball? There's a, and so whatever it is, we just funnel them into structured programs that are actually going to give them some sort of productivity. And so play, as it used to exist, is pretty much something that doesn't really happen anymore. Because that's what we ourselves do. And part of the reason that we do this with our kids is because this is how we gauge our leisure activities. Does it do something for me? And so we're going to actually walk through, I think, 3 areas, because I didn't want to throw them all on you, but we're going to walk through 3 areas, some of which we all do, and look at how we're doing this, but also there is a huge push to make sure that our kids' college transcripts look really, really good. And everything we do is geared towards, well, they're going to go to college someday, and if they're into horses, then let's get them in a horse club, and by the time they graduate, they could be president of the horse club, and we can put that on the college transcript, and it's going to look really good. That's a very real thing. I was a youth minister for 12 years, and parents told me to my face that I do not want my kid overly exposed to youth group, but I do want this to be a part of their experience for the college transcripts. And what do you say to that? You're nuts. Yeah. If your kid wants to be overly exposed to Jesus, I can't help it. You might even encourage it. Yeah. So play, this starts at a very early age where we teach our kids that play is not a productive activity. But you could turn some of the things that you use as play into productive activities if you were to join a club or a league or an internship or something along those lines. So play, for the most part, doesn't really exist. Kids still do these activities, but now they do them in organized groups. And again, it's so that we can build that productivity into them. So what does it put into them? It puts, learn how to make decisions, solve problems, exercise self-control, follow the rules, learn to regulate emotions, make friends. Now, admittedly, when Cohen's out there doing his ninja stuff on the tree, I don't think any of that's taken place. Now, I want all of those things to take place for him, but I also want him to just go out and play. I also want him to just be 12 years old and just use his imagination and pretend that beasts are coming up out of the ground and he's got to slay them. Like, I think that's cool. I want him to do that. I don't think everything in his life has to be geared towards him being a productive human being. I think, he's going to have like 70 years of that crammed down his throat. He's 12. I just want him to play sometimes. Leslie?
When kids play like that, they are so present in the present moment. And when we structure their lives geared to what's going to happen in the future, they lose that ability to be present.
Yeah. Yeah, I was playing a game with Cohen that he thought that he was playing the right way, and turns out that he wasn't. And he loved the game, and we played it forever. And then I learned that it wasn't right, so I changed it. And I said, well, don't you want to play the right way? And he said, yeah, I do. I want to play the right way. So we learned to play the right way. Well, that lasted for about 6 months. And then after that, he said, well, I said, do you want to still play? And he said, no, I don't want to play anymore. And I said, why? And he said, well, it's not as fun as it was before, because playing it the right way added structure, added all the things that he didn't want in that game. He wanted to just have fun, use his imagination, and play. And my response was, if you play the game the right way, you'll learn how to think strategically. All this stuff. My response was you'll learn all this stuff, and it's really important that you learn that stuff. But now he doesn't play the game at all. And so I lost the whole thing. Pat?
That reminds me of Legos, because when
Yeah, I'd same road.
when our kids were young, you just went out and you bought a bag of Legos. Now they all come in sets, you put them together,
Yep.
you have it all set up, and then what do? You leave it like that, at least Evan does. Reagan will tear hers apart and sometimes do other things with it, but there's no imagination. You buy these
Directions on how to do it.
sets now, instead of just buying a bag of Legos.
It's the same thing. And I tell both of my kids, you learn how to follow rules by doing this. Do this first. Do this. You learn how to be a productive human being by doing the sets rather than just using your imagination. Now, we have done Lego contests where we take all the big bin of Legos that we have, and you got to build the craziest looking monster or a boat or something like that. And then they're actually using their imagination. But yeah, I mean, those Lego sets are a
But they're
great
still
example.
competing, and they still have an end.
They're
Yeah.
trying to win.
They're still not playing.
Yeah, it's still not just all on their own.
It's not all.
Every once in a while, we do say, you know, whoever makes the coolest thing.
And Todd, you're going to have a lot of years to grow grass, babe.
I know, but you know, just as a human being, I'm like, what are the neighbors going to think? There's this bald spot in my yard now. What if we have people over from church? What are they going to think when they pull up? They're going to be like, why doesn't he take care of his grass? We can't have a priest that doesn't take care of his grass. Luke?
I was just going to enter the argument that, you know, free play, as you're describing it, could also be viewed as a way, it's experiential learning.
Yes.
It's a way of getting outside of what you're calling the structure. It allows the human being to engage their environment in a way that makes new connections in logic and other ways of solving problems. You may not call it in that structured sense. Humans like to think in terms of structure.
Yeah.
Right? Culture things, we create cultures. Cultures are created to create rules and abide by certain rules. So I don't think that, you know, there's that dichotomy.
Yeah, there are great benefits to him just, you know, being out there playing. And it's hard as an adult to be able to look at that and see the benefits, because I can clearly see these benefits. These benefits are clearly laid out for me. They make sense. But the benefits of him using his imagination, creating his own game, and you know, being able to entertain himself, which is priceless. Let me tell you. I mean, all of that stuff is really important. But we minimize it because we really want to instill these things. Well, I don't know what I hit. Oh boy. Mark! I can get off of here. Here we go. The second you attach a desired outcome to play, then it's no longer play. It's some sort of self-improvement as a means of acquiring value. The moment that you attach something to it, of you're going to do this and this is going to produce this, then it's not play. It's not just, you know, it's me saying I want you to do this to get this. So let's look at exercise, because exercise is a really fun one to look at. So we're going to take the example of the guy who is out on a run, and this is in the book, and he's on a run, and he calls his religious friend, and he says, hey, guess what? I'm out on a run, and I just passed 3 gyms with completely full parking lots. I also passed 3 health and wellness centers with completely full parking lots. And I passed 6 churches that were completely empty. And so, but the point of the story is what you find today is that there are certain things that have almost directly replaced church. And your gym is one of those things. That in this culture, the gym has almost, in so many ways, completely replaced church. And I'm going to walk you through some of the ways. So, at the gym, you pay your tithe, right? Yeah, you got to pay your fare to get in. And then you pass the piece. You generally have like a group of people that you become friendly with. You go to the gym at the same day, at the same time. You use the kind of same machines. You become acquainted with them. You talk to them. Yeah? Is this all ringing true? My gym is in my bedroom, so I don't know. So is this... Yeah, 2 of them I try and get rid of all the time. But, you know, it's the same people that you run into all the time. And you follow the same ritual. You use the same machine, kind of like you sit in the same pew. Yeah? I had my machine. When I did go to the gym, I had my machine that I would sit on. And when somebody showed up and they were sitting on my machine, I'd think to myself, you must be new. Just like when people show up at church, like everybody knows where everybody sits except for the new people, right? They usually just sit in the pew that's empty. And so when you show up and somebody's sitting in your pew, you immediately think, what's this new person doing in my pew? What's this new person doing on my machine? You sit under the same kind of symbols. I went to Planet Fitness. They have the same, logo, same symbols, basically, big muscular arms or some inner peace thing that's going on, some symbol that the gym has. You follow what the experts say. If you take a class, there's an expert and they stand up front and they're usually shouting at you, trying to get you motivated, trying to get you going, trying to get you all excited. Yeah? Does that sound familiar? Okay? And the whole goal of the gym is not just to better your body, it's to better your soul, your mind, your whole being is going to get better by you going to the gym. At least that's what they tell you. That's what we tell you at church too, right? It's not just, we're going to feed your intellect or we're going to feed your emotions. We feel as though you come to church and you feel better as a human being. Same thing at the gym. And what are you searching for by going there? You're searching for some transcendence, some spot that you're finally going to get to where you're there. But just like church will, the frustrations that people have with church are the same frustrations that people have with the gym. So you show up at the gym to feel good about yourself, right? And you show up there and the desire is that I want to feel really good about myself. And by the way, if that gym looks weird, it's because it's a former church. And if you look up churches that are now gyms, there's a whole lot of them. So yeah, that's a sanctuary of a church that's been converted into a gym. And I thought it was really cool just for the symbolism of what I'm talking about, because in our culture, what we've done is we've replaced the church with the gym. You also have, this is kind of like a ritual thing where we do this at this time, this at this time. I always go to the gym at this time. I have to go there. Same thing as church. But it lets you down in the same way, because one of the big critiques about church is, I went there to feel really good about myself, and I was for a while, but then I stopped reading my Bible, and then I started kind of getting frustrated with myself about not reading my Bible anymore, and I started coming down on myself, and so then I had other people coming up to me saying, why aren't you reading your Bible anymore? And then I felt more bad, and then I just had to leave and get out of the toxic environment. Well, What happens when you are going to the gym all the time and then all of a sudden you stop going to the gym and then you feel bad that you didn't go to the gym for 3 days. The gym's supposed to make you feel good, but now you're feeling bad because, well, you didn't go to the gym for 2 whole days. And then on the 3rd day you show up at the gym and everybody that you talk to is like, where you been? And then you have to say, well, I've kind of fallen off the wagon. I've ate a few cupcakes, and I haven't been at the gym for a while. And then they're like, oh, you got to get back at it. And now you start feeling more bad. And then you're like, I got to get out of this toxic environment. It's horrible. It's bringing me down. It's the same thing. In so many ways, the gym, for many, many people, has become their spiritual practice of finding value and productivity in their life, and it used to be that the church was that place. So, now I'm not saying for everybody, and I'm not saying that if you go to the gym, it's you, but for a pretty decent segment of society, this is a reality. The gym is a spiritual kind of replacement. Is that fair? All right. Must be fair. All right, so we're going to move on to 2 other things. And
Do you think the people that are going to the gym really think that?
think what?
Think that, do you think they look at it as going, do you think they're putting together what you just put together?
I think that they believe that they are not just fixing their body, but in fixing their body, they're going to fix their mind, and their whole being's going to come into alignment, because we know that that does happen. We do know that, that when you lose weight, you start feeling better about yourself. You look in the mirror, you're like, man, look at me, I'm pretty awesome. Now, I don't know about that experience recently, but I have had that experience in the past, and it feels pretty good. It doesn't just fix your body, it fixes the way you think, it fixes the way you feel, your emotions, all of it. And so, I think that they're very much, and the gyms market themselves not just as something that's going to fix your body, but something that's going to fix your whole life. Because, in many ways, it does fix a lot of things. Now, if you're having financial problems, it's probably not going to help you, but it will help you feel better about your health. I mean, and that's emotions, more, not just your physical body. So, I do think that, and I do think that people really wrestle with the idea that, oh my gosh, I missed a couple of days at the gym. I know, when I'm riding my bike right now, and I pay attention to every day that I miss, and it's frustrating to me. Like, I'm missing tonight, and I'm eating soup, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm eating soup, and I'm not riding my bike, and so, I think that stuff matters to people.
I know that people also use it as a way of building community.
Yeah.
With the same people all the time. You're belonged to with people with the same mindset or similar mindset. And so that's where part of that transcendence comes, because you're growing in a way with other people. And I have heard and seen it for myself where a lot of people will use Sundays as a day to go to church because it's the only day that they're not working. And it's a way that they can sort of spend time on themselves in a way that helps to
Do you mean
propel them
they use
forward.
Sunday? You said go to church. Do you mean go to the gym?
Go to the gym. Sorry, go to the gym on Sundays. But I've heard it. I've seen it. So yeah.
All right. So we're going to move on from there, and we're going to look at another thing, and we're going to look at the idea of meditation, mindfulness, any number of things you can throw in here. You can throw in here Tai Chi. You can throw in here yoga. You can throw in here all these things that fall under this umbrella. You know what falls under here. Things that center you, things that that help you, like breathing exercises, and all the stuff. I'm just using these 2 because that's what the author of the book used. But both having the idea of achieving serenity, and I cannot say that word without thinking of Seinfeld. So, if any Seinfeld fans, Serenity Now. if you're not a fan of Seinfeld, you should be. And that's a great episode. But anything of achieving serenity, the desire to remove mental projection that causes stress or suffering, the desire is to get those things that are bogging us down. Everything that's kind of weighing on us, we do these meditation practices, and they make us feel better. And it is proven that it does. Well, I don't know how proven it is, but people say that it is proven that it does actually do this. I'm not a meditation kind of guy, but I believe that it does work. But part of what makes it so appealing to so many people is that they function like religious disciplines, but without any reference to dogma or any spirituality. Now, you can have that in there, but you don't have to. And that's what's really appealing about these practices, is that you can remove all the religion, dogma, theology, all that stuff, and you can just have the practice, and you can be anybody. You can be an atheist, a Buddhist, a Christian, it doesn't matter, and you can experience this together because you can remove all that stuff. And it's part of the appeal of it. And the benefits are pretty overwhelming. Lower stress levels, improved function of immune system, lower inflammation, deeper focus, clarity. Anybody do these things? Can anybody, confirm these things? Does this do this? Okay, so like it actually lowers inflammation? I don't know about that. Pat, I don't have inflammation problem. Okay.
And stretching.
Lower your blood pressure.
All right.
But I view a significant part of my prayer life as meditating on God. So that's a form of meditation that I do daily. But I consider that the listening part of my prayer life.
Okay.
To meditate in that way. And I think that's probably scriptural too, isn't it?
Yep. So all these practices, I think, pretty good. I think they're pretty good practices, except what we've done to them. So I'm gonna walk you through some of what we've done to these practices. Pretty good, not necessarily for me. I don't think that they're for everybody. I don't think this is spirituality in a box where everybody has to do this. But I do think that it works for some people. It doesn't. It's not my thing. But it sounds great. Except the problem is the moment that mindfulness appeared to be working is the moment that it began to be a problem. Because the moment that it started working, now it's self-improvement and self-justification and value and increasing your value. And we know that because what happened was that all these companies came in and they started marketing meditation and mindfulness to people. And they said, hey, look what you can do. You can track how long you meditated. And then you can compare it with Cindy. You can say, Cindy, hey Cindy, I've meditated 30 minutes today. What'd you do?
30 minutes.
An hour. Okay, so now I'm feeling pretty bad, right? I'm feeling real bad. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back and I'm going to meditate. And my goal was an hour, but I'm going to fail. Now, when I fail, how am I going to feel? I'm supposed to feel great. I'm meditating. This is supposed to clear my mind, make everything great, give me focus. And now I'm just focused on how angry I am at Cindy because she can meditate longer than I can. And then, the other thing you can do is you can track how many days in a row you've meditated. So I can call Jack and I can say, Jack, I've meditated for 5 days in a row. How long you meditated for?
5 days less than that.
And now I feel good about myself. But Cindy's standing over there, and she's like, I've done it for 8. And then what you can do is you can compete against other people. They have like equipment where you can, things that you download where you can compete against other people. They also have it where you can put it in your phone that you missed a day, and they will charge you $10 for missing a day. What an amazing marketing strategy that was. We're going to sell you the product. And part of the product is we're going to help you so much that if you miss a day, we'll charge you $10 just to help you. Isn't that amazing? And people are doing it. They're like, oh, shoot, I missed a day. I guess I got to give you $10.
That's America.
That's amazing to me. But so what it ended up doing was we turned mindfulness and meditation into a competition, into some competitive game where we're trying to out-meditate one another. And at that point, the value of meditation is just gone, because what it's supposed to do is center you, and now all you're thinking about is Cindy and her great meditating.
Well, all these fitness apps that you have that you get for your phone, they're all the same. They track what you've done, and right at the end they say, do you want to share this?
Yes. And that's the whole idea, is that you share it with Cindy, and you say, look, Cindy, look what I've done. And Cindy sends you back and shows you up.
With yourself, because if you do great one day, the next day it's going to say, you fell down on the job.
I know. My goal on my bike is always 16 miles. Sometimes it's 16.3, sometimes 16.2, sometimes 16.1. But occasionally, it's 15 something. And I get off the bike and I'm like, man, what a slacker I am. And it could be 15.9. And I'm still like, I'm a loser. Can't even do 16. So, yeah, I mean, you're competing against yourself. You can compete against other people. But what it ends up doing, and all of it is because what we've done with it is we said, well, we're going to use this. This is great, but you're just kind of playing. And so what we want to do is we want to get you to be more productive at it. And how do you get more productive at it? Well, you compete against one another. And good old American competition is going to make you want to do it way more. But what it ends up doing is making you feel bad, particularly if you're losing. And I'm not one that's always against people feeling bad. Sometimes people need to feel bad. But if you are meditating to do away with the bad things in your life, it seems like you might be defeating the purpose there. Unless you're winning, unless you're Cindy.
Even the gym that we just talked about, they market the gym by showing a nice, young, fit people like that. And you think, oh, I could be that, see? And then after a while, you get discouraged, like, I'm never going to get there. It's sick.
Planet Fitness,
there a long time
when they
ago.
first started,
Yeah.
made a big point of saying, we are not going to have any muscle building people around here. We're not going to have those big old tough guys.
Well,
We're going to have the normal people. And you're one of the normal people, and we want you here. Don't worry about having to compare yourself to those guys.
Well, they can market themselves that way all that they want, but when those people see $10 or $15 a month, they're like, hey, sign me up. And you can't measure the size of their arms and say, no, I'm sorry, you're way too big to get in here. And so, when I did go to the gym, there were a lot of them there. There were a lot of really big people, and there were a lot of big people the other way too, but my kind of people. So sounds great, but we've kind of messed that up a little bit. So now what? So the practice that was designed to alleviate guilt and anxiety actually is now becoming the source of more anxiety and guilt because now we're just feeling bad. And it's the same thing with the gym, like Randy brought up. You feel bad you didn't go to the gym. You feel bad you didn't do as good as you should have, or as you could have, or as you did yesterday. And so it just produces all this anxiety because we've turned it into competition. And that's what we have a tendency to do. And the moment that you turned it into competition, it's kind of a contradiction. So the only way to ensure that you won't relax when you meditate is if you demand that you relax. You know, if you go into it with the idea of, I am going to relax, there's a good chance you're not going to. You know, you go into Tai Chi with the all frustrated and angry, you're probably not going to end, it's probably not going to end well. So it's all problematic in that regard. And then the last one I wanted to look at is sleep, because sleep's really fun. So the CDC, and I didn't know this, they declared insomnia a full-blown epidemic in the United States back in 2014. They declared that so many Americans have sleep issues that it's a real problem that we're going to have to address. So the sleep industry started booming. And so what you've got is you've got sleep trackers that you can put on that will tell you when you're hitting your REM sleep and when you're not sleeping good. You've got sleep-inducing chocolates. What are those? Like I gotta get some of those. Yeah. Yes. Yes. They probably are. You know, I'll eat my sleep-inducing chocolates while I'm on my bike. It'll be awesome. I'll probably come in at 14. Macromolecular engineered beds. Technologically enhanced sleep. Now, I don't even know how you sleep with this thing on. If I woke up and Michelle was wearing one of those, I would just kick her out of bed. Because I would think like Darth Vader's in there with me. Noise machines of any kind, prescription medications. I mean, the sleep industry is amazing right now. And so, all designed to optimize your rest. But the question is like, to what end? And I forgot to put this on a timer, so it kind of gave away the end. But to what end? And the end is that the New York Times wrote an article in 2013, and this is what they wrote. The New York Times said, if the onslaught of coverage has an ideology, it is this, that sleep, there's a glare right where is absolutely crucial for high performance. And so the whole industry and a lot of the concern about sleep is that I have to get more sleep because I know that sleep makes me a productive human being. And if I can get sleep, then I will be a productive human being. So you've got people wearing this at night so that because they believe that this is going to help them be a productive human being. And it's all geared towards productivity. Our leisure often has the aim of increasing productivity, and as a result, this increased productivity makes us more valuable. So a lot of the leisure that we're engaged in is actually geared towards not just leisure, but towards making me more productive. And then we take that, because that's what we do in our lives, and then we have kids, and then we tell our kids, you have to do the same thing. Basically, you have to be the same messed up adult that I am. You have to find your meaning in anything but Jesus, so that you have value and purpose. So you're going to find it in your leisure activities, because those are going to help you be a better human being. There are other examples of this that you can go through. You can look at travel, and you can look at the whole goal in travel. That's a leisure activity, but to what end? What's the goal in traveling? And sometimes the goal in traveling is I want to see the world. And sometimes the goal in traveling is I want everybody to know that I'm a well-rounded human being and I've been all over the place. And sometimes it's to see family and friends. But you can go through and you can look at all these things and you can look at how we spend our time. A lot of it is about increasing productivity, which increases our value. That's all I got for you today. Questions, comments, concerns, issues? Anybody have leisure concerns? Need some leisure counseling.
I think you do for your son.
I do. We're going to have a long sit down and I'll explain all the ways that Dad has messed up their lives, and I'm sorry. Here's some Legos, build something crazy.
Build whatever you want.
Yeah,
that's right.
Build whatever you want. You don't have to build that plane. But see, when I buy them the set, if they don't build the plane, I have an absolute meltdown. Because I'm like, I spent $50. I could have bought a bag of used Legos and you could have built that piece of garbage that you built. That's all I got. I'm out of here. You guys enjoy your night. I hope you find some great leisure activities.
Are we going to pray?
That are just fun.
You gonna pray?
Yeah. Oh, that's really
I didn't put that on there. I guess sitting in front of TV is just healthy.
Fisher Price had all these toys with little people.
I guess we're not.
And they had like the
Yeah, the little people. Yeah. I had those.